Front page of the Daily Mail, Jack. There seems to be a bit of a row developing inside the Conservative Party as to they appreciate last week's figures. Migration figures do not look good. They completely fly in the face of their manifesto pledges. Some potential ideas coming forward. The Mail says visa levels could be capped as part of fundamental reforms in the wake of a record migrant influx. What's the vision, then, from the Immigration Minister?
So we know that there's a sort of a general package which is coming, and as part of that, they're looking at capping dependents, they're looking at raising the salary threshold. I think one of the most radical ideas which is being put forward, and especially pushed by lots of Tory MPs, is this idea of an annual cap. So you literally say, this is the amount of migrants we're going to take in this year, and the buck stops there, and no more can happen. Now, Robert Jenrick, who's sort of seen to have some Damascene conversion in the cabinet, he was almost seen when he was there as Suella, a Sunak spy. You know, he was a bit on the sort of the wet side of the Tory party.
You know why,
now he's championing the Tory right.
I would imagine, without knowing Robert Jenrick, that the person who was most annoyed when she went and there was a cabinet reshuffle, he would have thought he was going straight into the cabinet. And I think, again, his rather forthright change in how he's been is absolutely down to him personally.
Bit of jockeying.
I genuinely believe that. There was also talk yesterday, is this part of this discussion about how if foreign students are coming over, a lot of dependents were coming over with them as well? Is that part of this?
Yeah, and so last year what we saw, earlier this year what we saw is Rishi Sunak clamp down on the amount of dependents that foreign students can bring. So what he's doing essentially is saying only if you are a master's student with a research base, then you can bring your dependents. Now, some Tory MPs are saying, actually, we want to go further. We don't want any students bringing dependents, essentially, because, you know, there are hundreds of thousands of them which will come into the UK every year and so potentially might not even contribute.
So there's an argument over that it's good for foreign students to come and get degrees and be part of society, but why should they bring their mother, their brother and their aunt? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Because if they're studying here and we have, you know, world-leading universities, they should be allowed to bring their families with them. And, you know, the return rate, I suppose, or the rate of students leaving is very high. I mean, it's over 76%. It's very high. People don't tend to stay here after they've studied. And why on earth should they not have their families around them?
The problem is they don't stay here after they've studied.
But you're conflating two different issues, because so they'll come here, study, pay to study here, and then perhaps leave, or they might get a job in the market, and that's wonderful. Yeah. But that's not to account for the very high immigration numbers that we're seeing.
My whole issue with the immigration thing, if we're being completely honest, and I think that, I mean, I've said it the whole time, we can sit and argue about illegal migration, stopping the boats, doing this, doing that. I find it abhorrent in 2023 that the fifth most successful country in the world has 170,000 people waiting to be processed. There is not a government in this land that should not make destroying and recreating the Home Office and getting a processing system in place. It doesn't matter, Labour, Conservative, there's no other option, obviously. But I'm being honest, we need to deal with that 170,000 for every problem that's causing. And I don't understand why a politician doesn't go, I'm going to make that my priority. Oh, because I'll be unelectable or something. I don't understand it.
And what have we heard for the past 20 years? The Home Office is not fit for purpose. However, fundamental reforms seem to be completely out the window, you know, and it seems to be this massive great container ship which politicians really struggle to turn around. And actually, not really much gets done in there. And politicians say they try their best. But fundamentally, we've had a massive problem for the past few years, especially since 2018, when we had the small boats crisis come along. That hasn't been solved. We're now seeing legal migration obviously come to the fore as well. And for the Tory party going into an election, it's incredibly damaging for them, isn't it?